Late at night, Jill enters a government building and walks through the corridors. Suddenly hearing footsteps, she hides behind a door. A lady in a strict suit passes by the office. After waiting, Jill sneaks into the office and retrieves some pills from the safe. At dawn, she meets a young man in a car and sells him the obtained medicine. It becomes clear that this is not an isolated incident. Jill drives home but falls asleep in the car due to exhaustion. Her daughter Matilda wakes her up, followed by her mother Doris, who had been with the children all the time. Her elder son, Noah, also appears, and Jill intends to take them to school. The family drives along the bank of Wide River, and suddenly the car's electronics fail. Jill manages to avoid an incoming car, but the next one pushes their vehicle into the water. Jill pushes Matilda to the surface, and Noah struggles to unbuckle his seatbelt. While Jill helps him, the police who had arrived pull the girl from the water. The sheriff revives the child and reports that there is a widespread power outage, preventing ambulances from reaching them. Jill and her children then walk to the clinic amidst the chaos. People speculate wildly about the cause, from alien attacks to terrorists, and after receiving necessary care, the family reaches home, where their worried grandma greets them. She reports the phones, electricities, and ATMs are not working. Doris insists Jill stay the night because her apartment is far, and she plans to go to work in the morning. Jill and Noah couldn't sleep, pondering their difficult day caused by all this, but Matilda was unfazed. She falls asleep easily and has dreams in her room. Suffering from insomnia, Doris asks Jill for sleeping pills, but she hasn't taken any since the judge's prohibition. It's revealed that Jill once used illegal substances, so her children are under her mother's care. That night, while checking on her awake son, Noah points out falling stars, which turns out to be satellites. In the morning, Jill cycles to work, stopped by her dealer, who asks her to increase the pill supply due to people's heightened anxiety, so the man promises to double the payment. By arriving at the clinic, Jill finds it empty. She gathers prohibited substances, and military jeeps arrive and armed people storm in. Jill identifies herself with her former army call sign because earlier she too served in the army. Her boss, Major Murphy, enters and orders her to pack all the pills, as Murphy was tasked with opening a lab to study the strange global insomnia. Murphy asks her assistant Brian to fetch her children using coordinates on a paper, and Jill didn't understand the danger of insomnia, and Brian explains that after 48 hours without sleep, people start to kinda go insane and die. Currently, no one can sleep except for one person in their lab, and Jill slips up and talks about how her daughter was asleep last night. Realizing her daughter might be a test subject, Jill rushes home, but Noah informs her that Matilda went to church with their grandma. At the church, the priest tries to calm the congregation, then goes to the room where Matilda rests. The priest is going to show Matilda to people, as her sleep will revive hope amongst the parishioners. Meanwhile, Brian arrives at Doris's house. Jill tries to claim that she was mistaken, but Noah assures the scientist that Matilda did indeed sleep. And if it's true, she could technically be the key to solving the problem. The pastor tells people that Matilda slept and this should symbolize hope, but the congregation becomes uncontrollable and they couldn't calm down. On the way to church, Jill, Noah, and Brian find the murdered sheriff and realize that people are starting to go into psychosis. Meanwhile, people in the church were calling for the girl to be sacrificed, just as God did with his son, Jesus. At that moment, Jill, Noah, and Brian burst into the room. The mother demands the girl to be handed over, but the people didn't want to give up their hope for a miracle. Brian tries to calm down the parishioners and explains that Matilda is indeed special, but to solve the problem, she should be studied by a group of scientists. And if they don't let her go now, he says that he'll return for the girl with the military. And in response, a police officer shoots the scientist. Doris manages to hide her granddaughter on the second floor while everyone was trying to find her. Jill goes upstairs and leads the girl out of the building, and at the same time, Noah searches Brian's body and finds a note with the coordinates of the laboratory. The family manages to escape, and Noah asks his mother to go to the laboratory. And after all, if they're all destined to die, the little sister will be left alone and is unlikely to survive in the now very dangerous world. Thinking it over, Jill goes to the garage to find an old car without electronics. But inside, she encounters two bandits, and she manages to hide when military vehicles appear on the street, scaring away the bandits. Jill still finds an old car and hurries after the children, and later, the family drives along the night road. Jill tries to make contact with her son, but Noah refuses to open up to her. Suddenly, Jill sees a wrecked car ahead, and the bandits from the garage shot dead. One of them was still alive, and Jill rips the sheriff's star from his shirt and takes his gun. Then she tells Noah that she and the head of the laboratory, Murphy, served together, and back then the Major was developing torture techniques, one of which was insomnia. But what she did to people was really inhumane, and this is why she didn't want to give her daughter to the lab, and nevertheless, finding the lab was the only way out. The family heads to the nearest town, driving through a group of crazed, naked people. Soon the family reaches the city center, and Jill and Noah decide to go to the library and look for a roadmap to plot a route to the laboratory. Moreover, Jill intends to teach the girl to shoot, as she may soon be left alone. Jill gives the first lesson right in the library and shoots at a bookshelf behind which Noah suddenly appears. Jill realizes that madness is closing in, and she sends her daughter to the car while she and Noah try to plot a route using the found map. At that time, prisoners freed from prison appear on the streets, and one of them hijacks the car with Matilda, and the mother and son, who run out at the sound of the engine, are surrounded by bandits. Jill makes a warning shot, but it turns out to be the last bullet in the gun. But then the car returns, driven by one of the prisoners. He opens the door and Noah and Jill jump into the car. However, Jill didn't trust the former prisoner, who calls himself Dodge, and keeps him at gunpoint, not knowing that there are no more bullets. Soon they come across a plane crash site and stop there to get clothes and fuel. Jill teaches the girl to transfer fuel into the canister, while Dodge finds a suitcase of clothes and changes. The man wonders why Jill was behaving that way, and Noah explains that the mother was in a hurry to teach her daughter everything she can. In the next scene, they drive along the night road, and Matilda was at the wheel, and Jill teaches her daughter to drive a car. She was very desperate, and she also recommends finding car repair textbooks. But Dodge advises burning all the textbooks because they were evil and that science was a lie. If something was repeated often, it becomes a fact, and it is then written in textbooks without checking the truth. Dodge's grandmother would say that all the world's problems could be solved in one generation if only everyone forgot that they were filled with people that can live in a world where everyone was equal. Suddenly, a terrifying pyramid of human bodies emerges from the darkness ahead, and crazed people try to stop the car. With great difficulty, they manage to fend them off and drive away, and soon, Jill shows Dodge the lights of the laboratory beyond the forest, and she hands him the car and hides the children in an empty house by the road and sets off to scout the area. Later, she reaches a military post where people maintain their work capacity with injections. She manages to get close to the laboratory building and overhears a conversation between doctors, from which she learns the code to the entrance door, allowing her to sneak inside. She finds a white coat and disguises herself as a medical worker, and she poses as a nurse who needs to take blood from a sleeping woman and is shown the patient's location. Jill was ready to extract her from there if she promises to raise her daughter, but the woman was very old and weak and ready to die really soon. Jill despairs as there was no more hope, and at that moment, Dr. Murphy appears. She was surprised to see Jill, but Jill lies, claiming that she came to help, and pretends not to know what happened to Brian, who supposedly gave her the coordinates. Murphy reveals that no cure was found, and only a temporary invigoration injection was the only solution that they currently had. Jill is upset because her plan to leave her daughter in the care of the sleeping patient has failed, and at that moment, she sees her car approaching the guard post, with Noah, Matilda, and Dodge stepping out. The military aim their gun at them, but the girl steps forward and announces that she can sleep. Later, doctors examine her to find out what's so special about her, and the doctor then asks for permission to try ether on Matilda, and after she's put under a mask, she falls asleep, meaning that she reacts naturally to anesthesia. Jill sits in a cell, visited by Murphy, who who reprimands her for not talking about Matilda. Scientists believe that a solar flare affected the nervous system, disrupting the biological clocks of all humans on the planet. At the same time, the military learns that Dodge is an electrician and gives him a strength-maintaining injection. Matilda, lying on the operating table, sees her neighbor stop breathing. The doctor tries to restart her heart with a defibrillator, but the old woman dies. Meanwhile, hallucinations start among the people around. Jill imagines Noah trying to kill her, and a guard, driven mad, starts shooting, screaming that they're under attack. The military start to kill each other, thinking that they're repelling an assault. Jill breaks her handcuffs and escapes from the cell, and at the same time, Murphy was about to inject Matilda with an untested drug. But another doctor injects Murphy herself and saves the girl. Jill and Matilda look for Noah and see the boy in madness trying to open an electrical cable, mistaking it for a rabbit's carcass. He's electrocuted and loses consciousness, and Matilda runs to the operating room and brings a defibrillator. They try to resuscitate the brother's heart, but the discharge was too strong and everyone loses consciousness. And as morning comes, the laboratory was full of dead people. Matilda regains consciousness and sees her mother embracing her son. The girl crawls to her brother and suddenly notices that the boy is actually sleeping. She wakes Noah, who says that he had a dream. Jill was happy as there is now someone to leave Matilda with, and Noah cries and admits that he really loves his mom and needs her, and meanwhile, Matilda sees the sheriff's star on the floor fallen from Jill's pockets. And it is here that the girl remembers being resuscitated on the shore, and she realizes that that's what sets her apart. She didn't lose consciousness and she was dying, but was brought back to life. The same happened to Noah as his heart stopped, but started again under the defibrillator's influence. The children then decide to drown their mom in a pond and ask her to trust them. Jill is then lowered into the water, and looking into her face one last time, they submerge her head, and in the final frames, Jill lies on the shore. Noah tries to restart her heart, and Matilda fervently prays to higher powers to help them. And a miracle happens, and off-screen, a woman's sigh is heard as she breathes in. The meaning of this dystopia, perhaps above all, is that people can view ordinary phenomena with different eyes. Most of us think that sleep is a natural reaction of the body and can't really imagine its absence being so fatal.